crazy how everything we're discussing right now is a reflection of just life, of nature, of what we know very well. It's about understanding that how structure works, how structure helps for meaning to be richer and more clearer to an audience. And the way we get better at composition is through practice and reflection, through active putting things together. What you're about to watch is the newest episode in my Basics of Graphic Design series, and this time we're tackling mastering composition in graphic design. Now, if you've been following along, you've already seen the previous episodes, Foundations of Graphic Design, Basic Design Theory and Practical Examples, and also an in-depth dive into color theory, how powerful it is and how we can use it to our advantage as creatives and designers to make our messages heard. I'll link the entire playlist in the description below, so make sure to check that out. But today's video is a combination of two separate live design workshop sessions on composition that I did here in Berlin. I've packed this one with a ton of value and learning for you guys, and I genuinely hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. So let's go. Very interesting way of building interest and bringing the viewer's attention into your designs, like through intentional composition, of course, is by creating depth, which you already mentioned with that painting. Of course, in art, you can create depth in so many ways. You have light. You need to render light in a certain way. That's a very big part of learning art. You need to know how lights work, how shadows fall off, and where is the light source, and that helps us do that. So you can, of course, do, if you're going into illustration, that's what you're going to do digitally. But in design, there are many other ways of creating depth. And the two biggest ways of creating depth in design is by layering things, which we'll get into, and also by overlapping things, right? Now let's take a few examples right now. So this is the easiest one which we can already look at, where we have this right here. We have this overlap. We have some parts behind this white line and some parts on top of this white line. But just by doing that, just by creating that boundary and then breaking that boundary, and right here as well, right? We've got this cloth at the back and we've got this leaf. Just by overlapping some things, I've created a subtle amount of depth that already makes the composition slightly more interesting, slightly more engaging, right? Then, of course, we can take it up a notch. So we can also say, look at this one, of course. It's again subtle, but you can see here that just by overlapping just this part and having this here, you will learn eventually the digital techniques in how to do that. But you can already implement that in your collage, these ideas in your collage to create that depth.
It's also about negative spaces, yeah, to hide something or to...
Correct. Exactly, yes. And of course, like leaving this whole space out is allowing me to understand that there's text, this is text, you know, this is actually a letter. And then I can read it, and while I read it, I have a story going on inside. So it's intentional that they left this space empty, right? They've left this space open, so as you mentioned. And then we have a few more easier ones, I would say. Again, here's a very simple way. Again, this is just, again, layering, right? So we have this thing in the foreground. We have this thing in the background. Clear three parts. We have a clear background, one. We have a clear middle ground, and we have a clear foreground. So by creating the three parts, a background, a middle ground, and foreground, I've created depth. Of course, here again, when you go into more digital skills, you'll learn also how to create shadows. So just this very, I just took this example because I thought it was so nice and subtle, like just this part shadow right here and the slight shadow here has created that interest, right? It's made that whole design come to life in a way. And of course, I also spoke about leading lines. Leading lines is also a very powerful concept in composition. We've already talked about this. Leading lines are imaginary lines that are receding towards a distance, right? And these leading lines you'll see in every kind of visual art. You'll see it in graphic design, you'll see it in illustration, you'll see it in photography, you'll see it in film, right? And these leading lines allow my eyes to go into a certain focal point, and it brings my attention into the thing that I'm showing you.
Geography too, or in city structures, because the European cities, they were grown out from the inside, everything was focusing into the middle, into the center of the city, all streets.
Right.
Street pattern.
Correct.
So
Correct.
it mostly started at the church or at the marketplace or the town hall.
So this is why I didn't repeat this today, but this is why I had mentioned also, right, that it's a way of thinking. Graphic design is a part of design, and there's, and that is conveyed through all these ways, right? Interior design, architectural design, systems design. Once you know the principles, it can be applied when you're constructing anything in a way, right? So that's a very good point. So here we have again, very starting simple. We have this kind of line going straight at the back, right, with all these graphics, and it just brings our eye in. So this is one example of how a leading line could look like. Then of course we have this thing, right? We have this just a diagonal. We can use lines basically to create direction. Obviously, now my whole perspective has just changed due to that high contrast between the yellow and the black lines going this way. It gives me movement and it tells me a story. It's not that I'm just doing this randomly because it looks good. The people are walking. It's emphasizing the movement that the people are making, right? So it's telling me, yeah.
People are moving like this, right?
Yes.
So it has to be somehow motion.
Correct. So exactly, and the word here is routine. Yeah. Hey, if you're finding value in this video and on the other videos in this channel, and you want to take your learning as a modern creator to the next level, so you can get a creative job and start a creative career of your own, or become better in your field, then definitely consider becoming a member of my Patreon. Inside Patreon, you'll get exclusive mini courses, project files, and access to my Patreon members only show, the Motion Design Portal, where I have already shared super useful resources and a full 2.5-hour motion design mini course. Higher tier patrons even get early alpha access to a new AI-powered design app that I'm building. It is a hybrid creative platform with an embedded AI agent working as your creative assistant, acting alongside with you. It combines pro design tools and a free-form brainstorming canvas, as well as a workspace for app generation, storyboard generation, and slide generation, all in a unified workspace. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you would like to follow this journey, because I have plans on sharing so much more content on that as well. So consider becoming a patron. It's one of the best ways to support my channel, and in return, you'll get tools, insights, and resources, a chance to get alpha access, and it's a place where I share things that I just don't share anywhere else. So check it out from the link below, and now let's get back to the video. Anything? Oh yeah, okay, this is another big one, and this is the last one before we quickly go into our collage. I want to have more time for this. This is called rule of thirds, and this is a big one, guys. Like, this is something I'm coming across all the time with designers, yeah? That designers aren't using grids or any kind of layout structure at the back. But as a starting point, it definitely helps. And rule of thirds, I'll show you in a second, is used in every kind of visual art, and there's a reason for it, and I'll explain that to you. Rule of thirds basically is that when we divide our canvas into 3 parts, we do it vertically as well as horizontally. What we get is these intersections, and it's proven that for various reasons, these intersections are where you want to place your subject. These intersections are where you want to place your focal points. And this is now where I'm bringing back the idea of multiple focal points. When you have multiple focal points, things like this help us to structure that, right? And the reason why is that not only is it that in life there is symmetry in things, like our just our body, right, has symmetry in it. Just a tree also has symmetry in it, and you'll see it everywhere. And due to that, by placing things always in the middle, when you have multiple focal points, it loses the comfort and the trust of the audience. But when you place it in specific points where our eyes normally go to, it makes a much more intentional composition, right? So this is the rule of thirds, where we place our subject and our focal points on these intersections where these lines meet, right? And now let's look at some examples, real world examples of how that works. This is just a painting, right? And here you can clearly see that this area is taken up by the main focal point. And of course, this is also telling me a huge part of the story, because they're conversing about these plants and these flowers. And this has been placed exactly here. right? So we have 2 focal points and it's been placed correctly on that grid, and it's allowing me also, of course, we have that direction, and it's allowing me to receive that story in a comfortable way. And that's quite a complex thing. I'm telling you a lot of things with that piece of artwork, right? And that grid allows me and helps me to place these focal points in an intentional and correct way, right? Here we've got our subject that's just standing at the back, and we have him right here. So I'll first bring the color up so you can see this. Here we have the composition, right? Again, we've got leading lines that's taking us into the composition right here, taking us in, and here we've got the focal point, obviously with this clear red like drop of color, right, just behind our subject, and the subject has been placed exactly on that intersection grid, right? So many things had to work together for this to look this dynamic. Let's take a look at one more to just let this sink in. We have also this one here. This is, I really, this I wanted to show because this guy is basically just thrown the illustration on the grid. Basically, that's how he's put this up. And you see, I need you to see all that. I need you to see all this information. This is what I'm trying to tell you in my artwork. I want you to see the window. I want to establish this connection. I want to have this. But how do I place it on layout that works, right? And we have this block of text that I need to put. And we have this. This is also an extremely important part. It's the logo, right? And it's sitting just perfectly in its own place out there. You don't need to do anything. You just know it's a part of this world. And then when we throw the grid on top, here's the overall area where he's placed these elements. So that's how the rule of thirds work, and it helps us creating a more intentional composition and layout. And just like the rule of thirds, we have other grids. We have diagonal grids. We have, of course, the big one, which is the golden ratio, which is taken from the Fibonacci sequence. The golden ratio is basically, if you break everything down as per the golden ratio, you get a spiral. And you will be surprised, like if you put that spiral on different artworks and different photographs and different things, it goes much deeper than that, than visual art. You will see that they are all falling under that spiral. And the golden spiral is something that's not man-made, and that's the biggest point here. It's in nature. If you look at a plant, if you look at the backside of a butterfly, if you look at certain structures in rocks, you'll see that the spiral is somehow coming in, right? And I'll send you guys a video which is made to show how people find the golden spiral in everything in nature. So it's and Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo all used the golden spiral. Exactly. The pyramids, right? In architecture, in all fields of life. So you can use that also in your graphic design work as well. And it's just mind-boggling. I'm summarizing this in a few minutes, but you guys should watch that video. It's crazy how everything we're discussing right now is a reflection of just life, of nature, of what we know very well. Which is why, and that's where I'm going to end this part at least, is to say that this is not to say that I'm going to use now all these principles, keep them all in my mind, and I have to use every one of them in my design. That's not the point here, right? It's about understanding that how structure works, how structure helps for meaning to be richer and more clearer to an audience. And the way we get better at composition is through practice and reflection, through active putting things together. Of course, you have to do that. But once it doesn't happen while you're doing it. It happens after you reflect on it and after you see other people's designs, other people's work, and see how composition comes together. And it's very intuitive, right? So that's a small part on composition. It wasn't small, but I think it is important. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this first part of my Mastering Composition in Graphic Design series. And stay tuned for the second and final part where I share some of my most valued and effective practical design exercises that will take your composition skills to the next level. In the meanwhile, this is a great time to catch up on the previous episodes in my Basics of Graphic Design series, and I'll link that in the description below. Now, if you found this video valuable, make sure to hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know your suggestions, feedback, and ideas. I read all the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then do subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out videos like this all the time to help you grow so you can have the best creative skills and the mindset needed to succeed as a modern creator. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.